Hello and welcome to the Pickup WNBA podcast. I'm your host, Cathryn Naiker, and Freddie Rivas is away. What? How? How dare he? But you know what? Joining us is very special guest, friend to the pod, WNBA writer, editor-in-chief of Raptors HQ. It's Chelsea Leite.
Hi, I'm back.
Yay! This is episode 129, baby. Look at us just
Girl.
climbing up the ladder.
My age plus 100.
There you go. Wow, bragging. Okay. We're happy to see Chelsea is just complimenting your new glasses.
Thank you.
You've entered the giant square glasses lady club with
Yes.
your hair possibly in a
Yeah,
bun.
it is in a bun. Yeah, we're really
See,
just
we're
vibing
we're
today.
very much in tuned here.
Yeah.
Okay, got some fun W stuff to talk about.
Mm.
First of all, I want to talk about some unfortunate news, and that is Courtney Vandersloot tore her ACL last Friday playing against the Fever. I was watching this game. It was televised on CBS Friday night. It was a whole national blah blah blah. They said first game in the United Center, but I could have sworn they did one last year in the United Center, but maybe not. But anyway, just super unfortunate for this to happen to Courtney. Unfortunate to happen to anyone, of course, but especially at this stage in her career. I kind of thought this season was going to be a bit of a farewell season for Courtney, and now like that feels kind of up in the air. Like, is she going to come back next year? We don't know. Wishing her all the best nonetheless. Chelsea, I remember back in like early April,
Yeah.
after the Juju Watkins injury, or that
Yeah.
might have been late March. We were talking about how women are more prone to ACL tears, and I believe you wrote about this too.
Yeah. So I've actually learned a lot about this in the past few months through like that article. I also some of my colleagues over at the next the one of the sites I write about women's hoops about, um one of my colleagues there did his entire PhD on the epidemiology of the WNBA, which basically means he was like tracking injuries and like why certain injuries are more common in the W. His name's Lucas Seehafer. And so I learned a lot about specifically ACL tears and why women are more prone to them. And like what studies are happening. And so it's just like been interesting to me, obviously, because it's so much more prevalent in the WNBA than, for example, the NBA, like just the men's equivalent of the sport,
Mhm, mhm.
for us. And so, yeah, I've been able to talk to a few like
Not
physical
you explaining
therapists.
to our audience what the NBA is. That's so funny.
If you don't know, there's I
That's
just meant
the
like what
men's
you,
equivalent of her sport. Anyway,
yeah.
I couldn't not mention that. Sorry, keep
I just meant like the direct equivalent to like the WNBA, in North America, because there's a bunch of
Oh,
other
fantastic. No, no,
wonderful
never.
worldwide leagues.
Chelsea never change. Okay.
Never change. But yeah, anyway, so I've been able to talk to some people who like are smart and sciencey stuff, which is not me, and have learned since that article too, like, learned a bit in doing that, and then have learned since that there are so many other factors that go into why women are more prone. So I think the exact number is women are about like 6 to 8 more times more likely to have an ACL injury while playing a sport. And the main reasons are because of one, I forget the exact term, but like the way that our hips as women are like outer, and so it creates a like a more drastic angle between your hips and your knees, means that your knees can't withhold as much like turning and like, you know uh like stress, basically. So because
Right.
of the angle of our hips, like, we're more likely to tear those ACLs. I've also learned that the ACL itself is a very like finicky ligament. I've learned that like hormones may have an instance in it, but it's really not the only factor. Like, you can't say that someone torn ACL was just because of, whether or not they were on their period or whatever. Like, there's all these different factors. Um, and they've also like have been studying a lot more. So like the need to study not just the hormonal aspect, but also just like how we're training women's bodies as opposed to men's bodies, how we're taking in mind like these physiological changes. The hips are one, for example. Um, and then the other thing is recovery too. Like I've learned so much about recovery from, these physical therapists that I've been talking to over the past few months. And like one thing that blew my mind was that the average ACL injury recovery time should be 2 years, but they rush it
Oh,
to
wow, I
get
did not know that.
yeah, so they rush it to get players back in 1 year, and it's not just the physical aspect of, recovering from an ACL, but apparently your nervous system takes 2 years as well to recover from the injury and the recovery of it as well, because it's such a shock to your system, and when they do the procedure as well, like, apparently it's a really finicky procedure that has a lot more risk for complication than people think, because they're literally taking a muscle from another part of your body and just putting it there, and then that muscle has to morph into a ligament. So, like, it
Yeah.
takes time for that, like, physiological change to happen in your knee, and, yeah, and, like, there's players like, I've heard stories of players where, like, the surgery didn't go well, and so they, like, their recovery time was different. I've heard, you know, instances of, like, they took the wrong, like, part, like, the wrong, like, muscle from somewhere, and that
Good
affected it.
lord.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of, like, when you dig deep into this
That
research
sounds
and
like
these
a lawsuit.
stories. Yeah, seriously, right? And, like, the way that your, like, the physiotherapy after is extremely important, because you need to, like, do everything at the exact right stages in order for your knee to heal properly again. So, it's wild, and the fact that this injury was something that ended your career, like, not that long ago, and now it's something that they're getting back into the sport in a year is, like, pretty wild, and the new research coming up about, like, recovery time and stuff like that is pretty wild. But anyway, that's a long tangent to say that, like, it's a rabbit hole you can go down and learn about how they're treating these injuries, how they're training, these athletes, and, like, how we really need to the research should be less so on, like, the hormonal and the, like, physiological aspects, and just a little bit more on, like, how we can train women's athletes in a way that is more suited to those changes, as opposed to, like, what what's just, like, fact, does that make sense?
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. I agree, although I think it's probably like a multi-pronged process, right?
Oh,
Where it's
yeah.
like you probably have to do the research on the hormonal stuff to then figure out the
Yeah, so, like,
training
that's
part
gonna
of it,
happen.
but I agree in terms of, like, that's where this whole thing needs to go. It can't just
Mhm.
be about one side of this and just stay there. Like, I agree that that's where this has to end up, but really
And
fascinating stuff,
yeah,
truly.
and do you wanna know another wild fact?
Please.
It is not required in the WNBA, CBA for every single team to have a physiotherapist on staff.
I could see that changing.
You'd be surprised.
I could see that changing.
You'd be
That's
surprised.
I mean, look, not every community center has a physiotherapist, so what are you gonna do, right?
Center. Yeah, it's, like,
Right? Practice
wild.
facility. That's where I'm going with that.
Yeah, but, like, even some of these teams that have practice facilities still send their players to, like, outpatient physiotherapists.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've kinda blown my mind here a bit. I didn't There are a few things there that I did know because we talked about this a few months ago, and then there were some things there I didn't know.
Mhm.
So, I mean, maybe in the upcoming CBA, this is gonna be part of the negotiations because I mean, that this wasn't a topic on our docket today necessarily, but I think it'll be a lengthy negotiation because the players are going to fight for things that don't necessarily make the league money, right? Like roster spots for, like that's one of the more popular examples. Like having more players on a roster doesn't like directly equate to profit.
Yeah,
So it's like, how do you fight for that?
exactly.
Same with like having like more physiotherapists. I actually think that might be a clearer argument. It's like, yeah, if you can help keep these players in house, that could be better for quote unquote business. Not that that's the lens we should be looking at that stuff through, but I imagine that'll all be part of those negotiations. Really, really interesting stuff. I appreciated
Mhm.
the long rant. Also, too, one thing I wanted to comment on when you were talking about the the mental part of it and the shock to your nervous system, you know, male equivalent to Allie Quigley, Clay Thompson.
Mm.
Um,
Everything gotta have a male equivalent.
male equivalent to Allie Quigley. Obviously he tore his ACL and then his Achilles, and it took him, I guess, 2.5 years to come back. I mean, pandemic included.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, there's definitely been like a mental aspect to all of this because of the shock to your system. And I wonder, not expecting you to have an answer to this, but I wonder to what degree teams are even considering that. Like maybe they're
Yeah.
thinking like, yeah, like you need a therapist. Sure, we all need therapists, but like how do you deal with just a shock to your system? Because I know I feel like in the past I've seen things where players have talked about fear of doing things again.
Yep.
Right? So, like, maybe they come back from injury, but they're not jumping the same way they used to or things like that. And I wonder to if people just accept like, "Oh, that's how it is," or if people are actually investigating like, what's that book called? Like, The Body Knows the Score, which
Yeah.
is about trauma, but still, it's like your
Well,
body
that is
remembers.
trauma.
It is trauma, like, your body remembers, and then what do we do with that? So I feel
Yeah.
like that's a whole interesting aspect to the science of this, and, I wonder how this will evolve over the years. It's
Yeah.
something I'm gonna keep my eye on for sure.
Exactly, and I mean, yeah, that's 100. I was gonna say, like, it's not just, like, the mental block, it's the fact that your body holds trauma too, and so, like,
Yeah.
your body can, like, stop yourself from doing things if it thinks it's in danger, and, like, there's a whole fight
Yes.
or fight response, and, I mean, when you talk about mental health, it's such a physical thing too, and so, yeah, it's just, like, there's so many aspects, and, like, through talking with, these colleagues, like, there is research being done on it, and there is, like, but it's all slow, of course, and, like, the
Yeah.
WNBA, as we know, is, like, very behind on the times when it comes to, like, implementing some of this stuff. Some franchises seem to be better about it than others, as we're seeing, like, the recovery technology that, like, teams like New York and, like, Indiana and stuff are trying to, implement, just, like, based on, you know, teams that are investing in stuff like that, and so,
Mhm.
yeah, it's interesting. It definitely, there's we just need a lot more invested into that, and we need, like, it needs to stop just being like, "Oh, like, when you're on your period, you could tear your ACL." It needs to be more like, "Okay, how do we specifically train these athletes instead of just using all of the same training systems and recovery systems that we've
Mhm.
used for men for the past however many years."
Yeah. I mean, all this too reminded me of when Courtney Vandersloot went down, how, like, Kia Nurse was, like, really upset because Kia has also torn her ACL. So it
Yeah.
was, like, hard for her to, like, watch, and, of course, I'm sure she cares about Courtney and all that too. And there was a while back where I'm forgetting the player, I feel bad about this, but I remember on it was a Rebecca Lobo, Ryan Rucco broadcast, shout out,
Okay.
and a player injured their back, and I remember Rebecca Lobo was like, "I can't look." Like, she
Yeah.
actually said that on the broadcast, "I can't look," because
Yeah.
Rebecca Lobo had years of back injuries
Yeah.
in her career. So, I mean,
It's, like,
anyway.
true, yeah, players have talked about that where they're like, the same thing, like, that you're explaining with Kia, or, like, when they have certain injuries or things that, like, ACLs, ankles, whatever, that when they look at, they're like, "Oh, I just, like, I can't even, like, it just brings up too much." Because yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. Anyway, really, really interesting stuff. We should move on. I
Yeah.
wanna talk a bit about Angel Reese this week
Okay.
because, this is like it feels like a very ongoing thing with Angel where I'm calling it the villain edit.
Yeah.
Okay, because Angel Reese is constantly, by various people, not by this podcast, but by various people are constantly getting the villain edit. And I don't know why. I mean, I kind of know why, but I don't really understand why this is happening with her.
Mhm.
So the latest, I mean, we've talked about the Caitlin Clark and the racism stuff here at length. Um, but there was this, I guess she's a boxer. I had
Yeah.
to Google who this person is.
I saw her tweet.
Clarissa Shields,
Yeah.
okay?
So
So Angel Reese won a BET award for Sportswoman of the Year. Congratulations.
mhm,
Okay, awesome award. Um And then Clarissa Shields, who I guess was also nominated for this, on Twitter wrote, "Still don't know how I didn't win the Sportswoman of the Year for the BET Awards, but congrats to Angel Reese and all the other nominees. I just thought accolades mattered." And it's like,
well,
"What?" And then she follows up with this and says, "I'm not joining in on any hate train when it comes to Angel Reese. I have mad respect for her and all the other female athletes that excel in their sport. As for my earlier comments, I'm allowed to express my feelings. I was shocked I didn't win. I was under the impression, sorry, I had to click to see more. I was
mhm.
under the impression the category was graded on accolades of your sport. It's okay to be a competitor." Good Lord. I
Well,
just feel like, oh no,
did you
sorry, jump in, jump in.
no, I was just gonna say, did you see the list of nominees for that?
No, tell me the nominees.
I'm not sure if I'm gonna get all of them, but it was Angel Reese and this person, Coco Gauff, Asia
Mhm.
Wilson,
Mhm.
I wanna say maybe Skylar Diggins was on there.
Oh, really?
Um,
I mean, I love Skylar, but
it was a long list of, like, a lot of them
you
were
think it would be like
basketball
Nafisa
players.
Collier or something.
No, like, that was one that I saw people were like, Nafisa got snubbed, but, like, Asia Wilson and Coco Gauff were the first 2 that stuck out to me because 'cause
Mhm.
I'm like, if we wanna talk about accolades, three-time
Yeah,
MVP,
yeah.
Asia Wilson over here. And I mean, okay, my thing with this is that, like, I am not the person to be sitting here commenting on who won a BET award. We're just gonna get that right off of the bat here.
Sure.
Like,
That's
I
not the point of this
yeah,
conversation,
yeah,
no.
I am a very white person, so you know, but in my head, I mean, Sportswoman of the Year kind of either like it does give accolades, but also gives like community engagement. It gives
Mhm.
like sportsmanship. It gives being a teammate, and like I'm sure everybody on the list had an argument. I mean, Asia Wilson has done great things for the community. Coco Gauff, continuously uses her platform for great things. I'm sure everybody else on the list did as well. Um, but yeah, I don't know. The thing about like being mad, like I understand being somewhat upset if you didn't win an award, but like to go online and be like, I deserve to win. I'm like, for a
Well,
sports.
it's the complete opposite of sportsmanship,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That was my thing. I was like,
For one. Number
yeah.
2, I truly like, look, I don't know who this person is, but I had to Google who they were, so I feel like things like this are sometimes also about, like, clinging to relevancy,
Mm,
when people just kinda, like, seizing a moment. Not to say she wasn't in her feelings,
yeah.
but, you benefit from that kinda thing as well. I just think Angel Reese gets
So
this
much
is kinda
hate.
2 things. She gets way too much hate,
Yeah.
and then she also just gets, like, arguably too much attention,
Yeah.
just in general. Not
Yeah.
that she isn't a great player, but, like, y I'm not debating this award because it's just, it's not something
Yeah.
that's, like, gonna factor into their, like, Hall of Fame status or something like that. I just mean, like, it's the Caitlin Clark of it all, which
Yeah.
we love Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
But it's the Caitlin Clark of it all that adds to the hate train, and I'm not saying Clarissa Shields has anything to do with that, but I just mean, like, if we just in a world where we just had Angel Reese and we didn't have Caitlin Clark,
The
she would
narrative.
not get the level of hate that she gets,
Yeah.
and she wouldn't be getting a villain at it.
Yeah.
And, like, she's got her teammates like Ariel Atkins, like, out here, like, sticking up for her and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and I feel like Angel Reese is a really great player. I think she's going to become a Hall of Fame player. I think, at the height of her career, she will routinely average a double double. I, but with all of that said, the Chicago Sky are not currently a good team.
Yeah.
And when you look at trying to grow the league, I get that Angel Reese is popular, and you're doing this broadcast like, wow, this is one of the first Friday night prime time W games. You're really trying to grow this league. why respectfully, why is it the Chicago Sky this year?
Yeah.
Do you
I
know
mean,
what I mean?
our
Like,
yeah,
I feel like I'm kinda like, I mean, I'm not trying to be on, like, 2 sides of an issue, but I just feel like it's nuanced, right? Like,
yeah.
you know, watching, the Indiana Fever, I mean, Caitlin was injured for
Mhm.
this game. Just, having people just see the sky getting blown out routinely.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how good that is for the league's growth.
Yeah.
Like this 8 p.m., Friday night game, whatever. Why isn't this against the Lynx? Why isn't this against, the Fever and the Lynx, the Fever and the Liberty, or
Yeah.
whatever, right? Like use Caitlin Clark's popularity to really grow this league and show people how competitive the league is
Mhm.
instead of just going back on these like college rivalries, which were fun at the time, but frankly don't matter anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like,
It's like it's a you all know it's a money grab, and you know it's to continue this narrative that there's this rivalry between the two of them, and the rivalry being strong sells more tickets and blah 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 blah.
yeah, but it's not real. Like,
No,
there is no real rivalry
no,
between these two teams.
no,
I
between the teams, no. And there's no like
and like I just feel like the I've come to really enjoy, women's NCAA basketball through being a W fan. I mean, for a long time I was really against it because of players not being played. Now we have NIL deals and stuff like that, so it's less
yeah,
of a moral conundrum for me.
yeah,
But I feel like for the W to just lean so heavily, and I'm not saying the league is doing this per se, maybe it's just the broadcasters, but to lean so heavily on the college narratives that
mhm,
I mean, especially a college narrative that is well over a year old. I mean, they're trying to fold Haley Van Lith into that. And it's like that game happened pretty much a year and a half ago now.
yeah,
Like like it's short-term thinking.
mhm,
Like, right? Like if you want to like grow, like we need new rivalries that exist in this league.
yeah,
So I just feel like, I love Angel Reese. I hate that she keeps getting a lot of hate left, right, and center from all kinds of people for reasons that I feel are illogical. But I'm also like, stop putting the Chicago Sky on national television when they're one of the worst teams in the league.
yeah. It's true. Yeah, and there's so many different things that contribute to Angel Reese's like villain edit, if that's the term we're using. But like,
I'm calling it a villain edit because I don't actually think she's a villain.
no, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
just so our listeners are clear. That's why I'm
Yeah.
using that term.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many things that contribute to it. I mean, like, we can go into a rabbit hole of, like, racism and sexism and
Yeah,
all
of course.
that,
All
and
yes, definitely
which
that's there.
all apply to her, and, like, the honestly, like, the basis of this, like, rivalry between the 2 players is the fact that, like, you know, it is those things like racism and all of that too, and, like, you think about who's perpetuating it and who continues to bring it up, and the like, it's the fact that they don't even play the same position, they're not defending each other, it's just like
Right.
it's just yeah, it's getting old, it's getting tired, and, like, the fact that, like, now we have this, like, rivalry week in August where they play, like, once or twice, and it's, like, under this rival thing. It's just, like, to me, I'm like,
I didn't
what are
even
we doing?"
realize that. That's so
Yeah,
annoying.
I wrote a whole thing about it. As I do, I mean, I write, like, 2 things a day, but,
Yeah,
like
well, tell us about the article so we can find it.
yeah, well, where did I write it? SB Nation? Yeah.
Yep.
Um, so I'm writing on SB Nation these days. The reason why it took me a second to think because it's I do SB Nation, I
'Cause you're
do,
so busy,
uh,
and you're only 29, and oh my god.
oh, man. But I also do fan-sided, so, but wanted to make sure I sent people to the right place for this particular article, but yeah. On SB Nation, probably about a month ago now, when they announced the whole, like I think it was right after that first game between the Sky and the Fever where things got really bad. It was at Indiana, there was that whole investigation.
Yeah.
And I wrote an article, where I was kind of like, why are we fabricating this unexisting rivalry for like capitalistic purposes? Because like in the end, these two players don't play the same position.
Mhm.
The beef that they have is like two college games. Um, like, I like, it's just so, and then it's so perpetuated, and I always go through this rabbit hole of, I'm like, what if another team had that number 1 pick that year? Like, what would be happening? Would it still be toxic like this? You
Mm.
know? And, like, I go down that rabbit hole a lot. Obviously, I can't do anything about it, but it's just the curiosity of it. But, like,
Mhm, mhm.
unfortunately, that's, like, the hand we're dealt currently, where the fans are the ones perpetuating this hate and this, like, vitriol and this, like, rivalry more than anything. Um, and it's just, like, unfortunate because then, like, things like, you know, broadcasting and whatever feed into it, because 'cause they're like, "Okay, this is what's getting us ticket sales and money and views and whatever," right? So, it's just, like, a whole rabbit hole of stuff, and I went into it more in that article, but yeah.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, I think it's great that you're writing about this, and I feel like listeners to this podcast are very, like, educated W fans, and we appreciate you all so much. When I say, like, it's out there, like, it's other social media, it's other articles, it's
Yeah.
never like
So the people
it
in my
it's
comments.
not in our comments or mentions, thank
Yeah.
God.
It's in my my replies sometimes.
Yeah, because it's SB Nation
Yeah. But,
or
no, it's my personal Twitter.
fan-sided?
Those are the
Your
2, yeah.
personal yeah, that's I
Oh,
mean,
no, they
I
come
stopped
find me.
tweeting, I stopped tweeting.
They come and find me on my personal.
I mean, if Elon Musk leaves Trump, do I get to go back on Twitter?
He did already.
Like, but they've completely parted ways? I thought they were
Yeah.
still bickering.
I've
I don't know.
I just watch basketball
I
and
find it exhausting.
look up,
Um,
you
okay.
know, and read books and crochet, like, I'm not up on it.
Yeah, fair. I get my, like, little, like, email alerts with the
Mm,
headlines, and I haven't clicked on one of those articles. I'm aware of it from a very headline-based perspective.
yeah.
And I can admit that. So, okay, let's talk about, some early, W awards here because I have a feeling, and I wanna know if you agree or not, but I have a
Mhm.
feeling these early, award front runners are probably gonna take it. So, right now, ESPN wrote about this. Multiple contributors. Okay, well, shout out to your multiple contributors. Um, Nafisa Collier, MVP. I've been saying this since February. I'm not a genius for that. I just like to take credit. Rookie of the year, we all thought it was Paige,
I
or
mean, I
I thought it could be Paige, and then Freddie picked Dominique, what's the
Malunga.
Malanga. But Kiki Iriafen
Mhm.
is really running with this.
I mean, we're a quarter of the way into the season. Like,
I
it's a
know
long
I'm
season.
overreacting and
Yeah.
I'm living for it.
If
I
if
feel
the
like I just feel like it's just over 40 games.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I feel like we're kind of narrowing in on some things here.
Yeah, we are narrowing in, and, like, I do think in the end, if things continue the way they're trending, it will be one of Kiki, Paige, or Sonia Citron, and
Mhm.
which is fantastic. I mean, the 3 of them are incredible, and, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it. The fact that both Kiki and Sonia, are getting a ton of playing time in Washington and
And
have that
Paige has had
freedom.
this horrible concussion injury.
Yeah, so she was out for 3 games with a concussion and then another game for illness. She'll be back tonight, I think. And so has been out for the past, like, week and a half. Also, Dallas is doing horribly. And so that's
Yeah.
another factor that goes into it. Obviously, Rookie of the Year isn't really one of those awards where record comes into play, because usually the Rookie of the Year is on a team that
Yeah.
isn't very good to begin with, just because of the way the draft works. But yeah, it's just
But I think, like, expectations matter, right? Like, the
yeah.
Mystics are, playing Freddie, actually, I'll give him credit, was like, "The Mystics are gonna be better than what everyone says,"
Yeah.
and they have been. So I
Yeah.
feel like in this circumstance, you're right, record doesn't matter with Rookie of the Year, but if you're comparing 2 rookies that are, like, maybe not in the playoff bracket,
Mhm.
choosing the team that's exceeding expectations is gonna help.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I do like the way Kiki is playing right now, fantastic. But I mean, I wouldn't count Paige out just yet. Just given the kind of player she is, and so yeah, I don't know. It also like the Mystics are yeah just using Kiki more than the Wings will need to use Paige at this current stage. Like, there's just a lot up in the air right now, but I do like those three for me are the solid front runners, and I do think it will be one of them.
Yeah. Um, Defensive player of the year, they're saying the front runner is Natasha Cloud from the
Woo.
Liberty. I mean, I kinda had the Aces or, sorry, Asia Wilson, uh, taking this because 'cause I'm thinking, like, Nafisa Collier's gonna take MVP this year, and they'll give Asia defensive player of the year. But
But
I
the
was l
Aces
are
defense sucks.
not good,
No.
not great, and they had that blowout, loss to the Valkyries.
They lost to the Valkyries, they've lost to Seattle in a blowout. Their defense is and don't get me wrong, I'm saying this as a whole, Asia Wilson is playing fantastic. I
Yeah,
was going into this or the other day on a podcast where I was like, she is leading the Aces in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks
unreal.
by herself. And like, but when you think about the fact that she's having to do all of that and her team is still not performing the way that they should be, the rest of the defense still sucks. They're like 12th or 13 in most statistical categories when it comes to like defense, rebounds, stuff that
Why do you
matters.
think that is? Because on paper, this team should be better.
Yeah, and it's Jewel Lloyd isn't performing the way that they thought she would. They thought it would be an easy switch between her and Kelsey Plum
Right.
to replace the contribution that Plum made. But I mean, Jewel Lloyd is shooting under 30% from the field right now.
She
Her
struggled last year, I recall.
Yeah, exactly. And like
Yeah.
my theory about it, which again I was going into a little bit yesterday, was that um, Jewel Lloyd really thrived when she was the third option on a Sue Bird, Brianna Stewart team. And that allowed her to play really free. She's a put up buckets kind of player, not as much of a facilitator, and just had the freedom when Stewart and Bird were the one and two options. Now she's in this place in the past few years where she is a 1 to 2 option and, has all this expectation on her. And then you also put up the fact that like Chelsea Gray hasn't been um well last year was where she's definitely performing better this year, but like still isn't up to the Chelsea Gray of like 2023.
She looked so good
Um
and unrivaled. Like, I really thought she was gonna just
yeah.
be fully back. I don't
And
know.
then, like yeah, and then you also think about the fact that they don't have much front court depth because, like, Kia Stokes isn't playing well, Megan Gustafson is injured, they're only, like, true backup right and, like, Cheyenne Parker-Tyus is out for, having a kid, and so Elizabeth Kitley now has to kinda step up as a rookie, and it's a lack of effort. There's just no defensive effort,
Mm.
and usually they're able to kinda aid that with the offensive effort that this team is used to. They've led the league in offense for the past few years, and that's just not there either because their second option isn't scoring, and it's just they don't have, they don't put together a full 5 lineup of 40 minutes of basketball, if that makes sense
Mhm.
in in all these games. And like Becky Hammond was saying over the weekend, like I can't coach effort. Like I can draw up everything I want, but like there's just there's just
She's
not the
gotta call them
effort.
out. She's at that point. She's gotta call them out.
Well, yeah, because if you expect Asia Wilson to put up 25 to 30 points and lead in every statistical category for 44 games, if she burnt out last year at 40 games, she's going to burn out even faster this year. So like what are
Yeah.
you doing?
Mhm, mhm.
Like you can't
Yeah.
win like you can't win a championship on Asia Wilson alone, and like if they realized pretty quickly last year that things weren't going the way that they thought they would, and then they made those changes with, like, switching out Plum and bringing in Lloyd and all of that, and so, like, at this point, like, you've done what you've needed to do, and it's going the same, if not worse than last year,
It's
and I
not
don't think
great.
it's gonna get any better. It's not great.
I you know, talking about rivalries, I miss the Liberty Aces rivalry.
That was a good one. It
Like,
was good.
that was
And it's
so fun, and it feels like it's kinda over. I mean, like, because I don't feel like the Lynx and the Liberty hate each other the same way I felt like those teams hated each other. I don't know if they actually did, but just from a pure audience perspective, it felt that way. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if we're gonna get that back with them, but I miss that rivalry, man.
I think the fans kinda like, the Lynx fans hate New York because of, what has
Sure,
happened over the
yeah,
past, like, year. But
yeah.
yeah, and I don't get me wrong, I don't think it was the players when it was Vegas either, like, I don't think there was, like, a hatred because I know there's a lot of respect between all of those players and they played together on Team USA and yada yada, but, like, again, like, the fans would get into it, it would get messy,
Yeah, it was
and
so fun.
yeah, and I mean,
Anyway.
the Lynx are I find, like, that champion like, that rivalry is fun, but I feel like maybe the players aren't as, like, I don't know, they're not as, like, fiery, whereas, like, Asia Wilson is, like, fiery, Chelsea Gray's gonna get in your face, like,
Yes, this is true.
they're, like, the kind of players that, like whereas, like, Nafisa Collier, it's hard for her to look mad, like, she has the same face as me, it's like, I try to look mad, I'm like, "Grr." Like, she just has a nice face. I don't know,
She
like,
does, she has a very nice face.
whereas, like,
But I mean,
some
even Courtney Williams is just
oh,
like,
there you go.
I'm happy with life, like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
they're
she
just
has
like
that fire, but she's like, oh my god, this is such an insane reference. She's like after Alicia Keys got married. You know what I mean? It's like, what am I like? I'm just happy now. I have
yeah.
nothing new to say.
It's
My
like
son,
and Natasha Cloud is just happy.
yeah, like they're just
Natasha Cloud
happy now.
is in New York City, she's getting paid well, she's on a roster, she's in love, she's going up
Yeah.
on her thing. It's like, yeah, there's just the vibes are fantastic, which
Yeah,
is
they're
great.
just like, "We're happy, we're part of good organizations, we're,
Yeah, they're
well-oiled
not
machines, so to speak, like, we're just gonna go out and hoop and be the best, teams in this league. Cool."
yeah. Not and, like, not saying that, like, anything about Vegas, like, the roster was, like, controversial, like, I love the Vegas roster,
Well,
but,
there
like,
were
something
things about the roster that were controversial, but we don't have to go there.
yeah, like, yeah, especially at that time, but, like, I don't know, it's just, like yeah, something about that was just, like and the fans were more chippy with each other, and I don't know if
Yes,
it was, like,
yes.
an extension of the South Carolina UConn that has been going on
Oh,
over the past,
maybe,
like,
yeah.
decade. Because I find that, like, because, like, Asia went to Vegas and, like, now New York is, like, very much, like, the Stewie team, like, I do find that,
Mhm.
like, the Yukon people have gone up to New York and the South Carolina people have gone to, um have followed Asia to Las Vegas, and so maybe that rivalry is just, like, an extension of that, and so, I don't know, it's just, like, a few different whereas, like, when you think about the Lynx, it's like, Nafisa and Brianna Stewart are business partners and they're like
That's
friends and
right, there's yes.
there's like, it's just and I'm not saying that Asia Wilson and Brianna Stewart have animosity towards each other. They don't, but like I don't know, it's just the vibe was different.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Sabrina's got some fire as well, but, it's just they're all just happy. They're all just in such a good place.
Yeah, they're all like
And I
chilling
don't
and
wish for
yeah.
anything to change. I'm just saying.
No, it's just it's different. It's
Look,
not bad, it's
if
different.
they see each other in the finals again this year, we might see some fire,
Yeah, yeah, especially
right?
given what happened last year, yeah. And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
this is saying this too where, like, we haven't seen these like, the Lynx and the Liberty play this year, so it can be
Right.
completely different when they get on the court.
That's
'Cause,
true.
like, you know
Commissioner's Cup. Hello.
Yep,
I don't know.
unless the Fever get back on Saturday, but, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah, it's, I'm curious for the on-court product because you add in, Natasha Cloud, who I isn't, like again, she's not, like I'm not saying she's, like, like, I'm not saying it in a negative way, but she's just very, like, like, she shows her emotions on the court, which I think is
Mhm.
fantastic, makes the game even
Mhm.
better. So you throw in Natasha Cloud here, you throw in Courtney Williams, you throw in, like, Sabrina and, all this stuff too, and, like, yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, we need the right recipe of
The
people. Yeah.
recipe, because then you think about, like, I'm like, Bridget Carlton isn't gonna be mean to anyone.
No, no, no.
She's just
She's
like
Canadian.
they're all just like to me, I'm like, "Oh, they're so sweet and precious."
Yeah, they're all
And I
sweet,
know,
nice.
like yeah,
They're all gonna go out and have dinner after. Like,
exactly, and
it's
they're all just
very
like
that vibe, yeah.
yeah, and they just
Someone's
like
gonna win, and they're all gonna go to the same club after and party.
yeah.
I mean, maybe not. I mean, I'm
No,
kinda hoping, yeah.
they're all gonna go back to Courtney and, Natisha Heidemann's hotel room and do a Twitch stream. Have you seen those?
No, I haven't
Oh
seen
my god.
those.
You need their Twitch stream is called Stud Buds, and they
Okay.
have people, like, come to their hotel room and, like, be on the Twitch stream and, like,
What?
answer fan
Like,
questions.
just fans?
Yeah, no, like, they have, like, their
Of other
teammates,
players?
and, like, they had Dejanay Carrington come when they were in Texas, and, like, they'll, like, call, like, people on the stream. It's amazing. It's so fun. It's called
Okay.
Stud Buds. It's Courtney Williams and Natisha Heidemann, and
Listen, I'm old. I'm gonna have to subscribe and then get an email notification to know when they're on Twitch. I'm not gonna just, like, hang out on Twitch.
no, and, the clips and
Is
I
that how
see
they
a
do it?
lot.
Or is it like a notification that pops up and
I don't
says, like,
I just see the regurgitated clips on Twitter. That's how I get it.
"Oh, okay, so you're not tuning into the full live."
No, 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 I'm catching the highlights. I'm catching the
Okay. I'm
highlights,
like,
but
I need to be
oh,
notified, like, I
it's just
can't just, like,
funny.
hang out on
They're so
Twitch.
like, last week, Natisha Heidemann went and got a cavity filled, and then they did, a thing and her face was all numb, and she was, like,
Okay,
on
WNBA
stage.
players and the dentist are becoming, like, a whole thing now. Like,
Yeah.
Kelsey Plum had her face, like, her
Yeah!
cheeks numbed or whatever,
It
and
was the same thing, and so she was, like, on these pain meds, and she was like, "I gotta tell Cheryl tomorrow to, like, take it easy on me because I'm on these pain meds," and Courtney Williams was laughing, and then the stream goes on, and, like, I see another clip of, like, 20 minutes later, and she just crashed out on the couch.
okay,
Like,
okay.
just, like, so tired.
The W and the dentist is a collaboration I
Oh,
didn't see
man.
coming, but
The
here we
W
are.
and, like, being 1, unproblematic, and 2, just, like, more chronically online. Like, I find, like, NBA players
Yes.
will, like, get on a podcast and they'll, like, have takes or whatever, but, like and I mean, I guess Scotty Barnes does Twitch sometimes, but, like, these players are just, like, getting on Twitch. They're, like, just yapping. They're having a good time. They're, like, whatever, and it's just so funny. Like, the 2 of them together are so the last one I saw was, Melissa Smith got, like, her hair done, and she got these, like, long, like, 30-inch extensions, right?
Oh.
And it looked really good, and so they saw it, and they were, like, freaking out about the extensions, being like, "Oh my god, like, she doesn't look like a stud anymore," like, blah, so they called Dejanay. They're like, "What did Melissa do to her hair?" Like, whatever, and then they bring Melissa into the call. It's just a good time.
That's actually incredible. I'm
It's
glad you
so
told me about
funny.
that.
It's so, like,
Um,
again, like, they're all just gonna go back.
Stud buds?
Yeah, stud buds.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and so that's just, like they're just, like, so, like, likable. Everyone's and they like last week when they were on a road trip, they like had a hotel. They were in their hotel room and they just had their teammates like cycling in and out on the stream. Like Bridget was there, Nafisa came. Like they were just answering questions and hanging out.
Amazing.
It
Maybe
was
I need
so
to get
fun.
back on Twitter. Oh, all right. Okay, Freddie's not here, so we don't have an FFQ, but instead we have a CQQ.
Ooh.
Cathryn's quirky question.
Woo.
Okay. So, on the broadcast earlier this week, Angel Reese was fixing Holly Rowe's eyelash. Mid interview, beautiful, wholesome, love to see it. So, my question for you, Chelsea, is when has a friend had to help you out with some sort of a beauty faux pas or wardrobe malfunction?
Oh, I'm trying to think of like an actual wardrobe malfunction.
I can go first.
Okay, yeah.
I had to think about this and then I remembered a story. So
Okay.
this is back in like, the 2010s. Remember a time we were, the music was just like, I don't know, things were just happier somehow in the earlier 2010s.
Vibes were better. Vibes were better.
Vibes were better, right? So a friend of mine was having a birthday party at a club here in Toronto called Cabana.
Oh, classic.
So it's daytime, it's a pool party, it's like booths with alcohol, etc. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm all excited. I go, I've got my swimsuit on, and it's a new swimsuit that I bought, and it's basically like it's like a onesie Batman swimsuit. It's like stupid but funny, and it
Yeah.
flatters my waist somehow. Anyway, so I'm wearing that, and I'm, like, the only girl in this party with a onesie, like, every other girl's just in, like, the sluttiest bikini ever, like, I'm, like, the most covered up person. Anyway,
Yeah.
I dip into the pool, I come out, and, this was, like, a cheap online purchase, nipples fully in view.
Nice.
Just full, like, not just, like, shape, like, pigmentation, everything. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Holy shit, what am I gonna do?" My friend's sister had, like, nipple covers, and we went to the bathroom, and she took off her nipple covers and gave them to me,
Nice.
and
That's very nice.
like, she didn't, like, really need them, like, I needed them,
Yeah.
and, like, completely saved me.
I mean, I would just would have let him free.
Early 2010s. Did
I
we do
guess,
that
yeah.
yet? Did we
Yeah, I
do
don't know
that
if free
yet?
the nipple was a thing yet.
I don't know if we were doing that yet.
Yeah, like 2025 me wouldn't care.
Yeah, that's true. I would care less. Would I care less? It depends.
Yeah,
It depends on the environment. But this was like a fun but douchebaggy environment.
yeah,
So it wasn't like, I don't know.
yeah,
Hard
that's
to
fair.
say. Like, remember like that band like LMFAO? Like
Oh my goodness, yeah.
it's very that vibe.
Okay, I'm gonna go on a
You know what I
tangent
mean? So
here
like
for
I
a
don't know if I'm
second.
freeing the nipple in that environment.
Yeah, that made me think when you said LMFAO, it made me think of, our dear sweet friend Karina.
Yes.
Um, I was
Who
with
was
her
like born the year that song came out.
literally, but I was with her and our other friend over the weekend, and we were talking about Jersey Shore, like,
Oh,
and how we
yeah.
used to, like, watch Jersey Shore every Thursday or whatever, whatever, and her and I just look at Karina. Karina goes,
She didn't know what it was?
"I don't know, never seen," and we were like,
She had no idea what Jersey Shore
yeah,
was?
and she knew, like, that there was a show called Jersey Shore, but she couldn't tell you
Wow,
anything
yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
and it was, like, the biggest
It
thing.
was the thing, and that's what we were talking about, but, oh, man, I'm trying to think of, like, a wardrobe malfunction. Oh,
Yeah, what or even
man.
if you had to help out a friend, like, maybe it wasn't your malfunction, but you're like, "Here, let me listen, you got something in your teeth, you gotta get it out. Let me fix your eyelash." When have you just been like, "I'm gonna help a girl out right now?"
I mean, I'm always a girl's girl,
Yes.
100%, but, like, yeah, I'm like
You can't bail on this question, Chelsea.
no, I'm trying to
Pe
think, like, I always have
people
even when I'm not on my period, I
people
bring
listen to the
tampons.
end for this moment.
Yeah, like, I'm always someone who has an extra tampon. I'm always someone who has, like,
Yes.
I'm just, like, trying to think of a specific like, I'm sure at some point, like, a friend let me borrow a shirt or, like, something, but I just the story is
Did
blank
you ever
now.
just, like, have, like a period leakage moment, and then you're, like,
Ugh,
tying a sweater around your waist or something
yes,
like that?
topic, or, like, the other thing is that I've been at a Raptors game
Okay,
and, very male environment, so there's not very many people
sure.
I can ask it for a tampon, from, but Scotiabank Arena has free tampons, so shout out them.
Wow.
Yeah, shout out Scotiabank Arena, but, at Raptors games, like, Karina's gotten me Tylenol before because sometimes it's loud as shit and you just need, like, a little headache thing.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Um, yeah, yeah, just, like, stuff like that where it's like, "Oh, I need a Tylenol or I need, like, I don't know, a hair tie." Savannah Hamilton has given me a bunch of hair ties before. Um, yeah, that's what I can think of.
Okay, you
But
failed.
I failed, I did fail because 'cause I'm, like, not one like, I'm not probably, like, in college at some point, but I'm blanking at like, probably in the basement of Phil's at some point,
The basement of Phil's?
yeah,
Who's
like, in Waterloo, have you ever been to Phil's?
No. I was
Oh,
like, "What
okay.
the heck is Phil's?" I was like, "Who's Phil?"
Yeah, no, if you so Waterloo, Ontario, there's a place called Phil's Grandson's Place, I think is the full name, and it's a
So this is
basement.
like a university bar.
Yeah, and I am so sad that I never had my, like, last ride at Phil's because like, COVID happened, but, like, it's a bar like, back when I was in school, Shots were like $1.50.
Good lord.
Yeah, and, like, you could get a pitcher, and, like, my pitcher wasn't, like, so deep in my closet, I would grab it, but, like, you would bring your pitcher back and, like, get cheaper drinks the next night, and it was, like, a whole thing. But it's in this basement, it was disgusting, like, it was in this disgusting basement, and it was
Mhm.
so gross, and I still follow girls on Instagram that I met in that bathroom line, like, the lore goes deep. Like, you're in that bathroom line and someone's crying about their ex,
Listen,
and
it's a proper bond. It's a
it is a
proper
pot.
bond.
And then you
Yeah,
follow
yeah,
each other on Instagram, and I don't know these girls from a hole in the wall, but I still follow them because what am I? A girl's girl.
yeah. Well, I love that. I
Yeah,
love that.
I'm always like I'm like the water girl. I'm always like, "We should drink water."
For the
Um,
water girl, that's so funny.
yeah, I, like, love a responsible fun time.
I'm not the water girl. I will say that. Sorry, just give me 1 second. We should wrap up though.
Yeah, gotta
Thank you
go pick
so
up an
much.
iPhone. You're welcome.
Yes, you need to buy your new iPhone. Um, Thank you for everyone for listening, for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Forgot to say that off the top because it's usually Freddie's job. We've got this ACAST survey for those who filled it out. Thank you for filling it out. If you haven't but would like to, there's still time to do so. Let us know what you think of the pod, all that good stuff. We love your feedback and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network.